Hey Al, so I shot my intro, but I think I deleted the clip. So I'm doing it again. Anyway, this is my first part of a 3-part video talking about depression. Here we go. So what we often see in films and television, or we hear about people unaliving themselves because of depression, what they're usually dealing with is called clinical depression or major depression disorder. And this is very different from persistent depression. Major depression is intense. It's a sharp, intense pain that can lead you to a place where you are no longer functioning rationally. And this is what's often depicted in films and television. You know, people can't get out of bed, they struggle to feed themselves, or they can't go to their jobs, they can't enjoy time with their family, which is obviously really horrible. But what I want to focus on is persistent depression disorder, which is kind of the less talked about sibling of major depression disorder. It is not life-threatening, but more just life dampening. I think of it as living life, but at a 40% capacity. So you can do things, you are functional, but everything you do has like a 40% cap. The idea here is that it is something that you live with for most of the time for about 2 years. So obviously the way to get diagnosed can take quite a while. And for most people living with this condition, you end up just not getting diagnosed because it is so sneaky and kind of in the background. It can just make you feel like this is you. And this brings me to point 2. How is it like living with it? What I can say is the most salient point is just the intense fatigue that you feel with no matter what you do. I would sit down to write, and writing is something that brings me a lot of joy, but I would feel just this intense sense of fatigue to even not just like mentally think about it, but physically to even write something. And if you look at the science of it and how this plays a part in your brain, yeah, it makes sense. Your brain is just so overwhelmed by the misfiring neurotransmitters that you don't hold on to the serotonin or the dopamine as well as you should. So there's just not enough in your brain to allow you to do the things that you want to do. And this is something I have been dealing with for the past 5 years. Since COVID, and sometime even before that really, I kind of noticed that I started feeling not very involved in life. Like the default was just to think that nothing's going to go right. And I didn't think much about it. I just thought it was the truth. And that's the thing with both forms of depression. All these thoughts that come into your brain are not thoughts that are like unique and different, that you can be like, hey, that's not me. But the thoughts that come in, they feel like rational thoughts. And what you're seeing now is the reality that you have been missing out on. And even when I did have a joyous thing happening in my life, I just felt this sense of unfulfillment. Like I would have a great time playing badminton with my friends, and we'd go for dinner, and I can't put my finger on it, but it just would feel that this is not it. And it all came to a head when recently my persistent depression, that's always been there, coincided with a major depression. And when you have persistent depression and you get clinical depression, it's called double depression, which is just as fun as it sounds. And this is where your persistent low mood and lack of fulfillment coincides with, I think I should kill myself.